Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Edge on Good News Sports. I'm your host, Glenn Allan. In his book, Starved for Affection, Dr. Randy Carlson says that fathers play a critical role in their daughters' lives. Fathers influence their daughters' view of men, their view of themselves, and most importantly, their view of God. Today, we're going to talk about what daughters need from their fathers and how men can provide that. As well, what should men be telling their sons as they prepare to date somebody's little girl? Let's meet the Edge panel here on Good News Sports. First off, from the Drew Marshall Radio Show, please welcome Drew Marshall. Buddy, how you doing?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Also on the show today from the former Toronto Maple Leaf, Mark Osborne. Ozzy, I was going to say the score as well.
There you go.
Analyst, hockey analyst. And from Promise Keepers Canada, author and speaker Steve Masterson.
Hey,
sir,
Glenn.
how are you, sir?
Good to be with you.
Good to see you. And finally, former WWF superstar wrestler, the $1 Million Man. Oh, yeah. Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, what's up, Glenn? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Hey, Ted.
Guys, talking today on the program about our daughters. And
Aliens.
why would you say that?
I do not get my daughter, man. I love her, but I cannot relate.
How old is she?
13.
Oh, well.
Wired differently, aren't they?
I don't get it, man. Like, seriously, when she was younger, can we just get into this now or what?
Yeah.
When she was younger, I was trying to figure out how to relate. The only way I could kind of connect with her was when I sat down in the armchair in our house and let her put makeup and stuff in my hair for an hour.
That's why you're okay with
Stop it.
And look what happened to your hair.
Yeah.
Hey.
Maybe I'm the lucky guy here because you know what? I don't have any daughters. I was one boy and three growing up, and then I had three sons of my own. And all the guys I know that have daughters pretty much say the same thing. They say, you know what? When they get to be teenagers, I just give them back to their mother and say, let me know when they get over it. So what is it, guys?
Well, I beg to differ. I have three daughters, and now I have three granddaughters. But when all three of our daughters moved into that teenage part of their life, things just picked up, and we went to the next level in terms of our ability to connect, and they still long for affection from me.
Why do you think that is?
Why do I think?
Why do you think you had such a good relationship as they turned into their teens? Was it because of how you started?
Yeah, when you start when they're very impressionable and they're developing and becoming aware of their felt need for love and affection and attention and their daddy's approval
But you never had any sons.
Yeah, I had one son.
One son.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You bet.
But still, back then I think times are changing. I mean, it's different now. Wouldn't you guys agree that today's day is different than when? I'm saying he's a little bit older than me.
Wait a minute.
Back in those days, we made our own clothes.
I resemble that remark. Come on now.
Yeah.
What about when you look at, we talk about father. A father is critical. A father can be critical. He can be abusive. He can be distant. He can be absent. And when that happens, his little girl is more likely to go through life looking for affection in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
And it's so important today, in today's world, especially in today's world, with the peer pressures at school, with peer pressures outside of school, with the media jamming stuff down their throat, for the dads to really align on another program. You talked about that importance for the time a father needs to spend with their kids, in particular, especially right now, the daughter.
Well, I think that it's very important and it's critical that the father fills up his daughter's love tank or emotional tank with his love and affection. And then when the first yahoo with pants comes along and wants to, take your daughter's virginity, what she's going to do is say, take a hike, buddy. I don't need what you want because my father has loved me. He's shown me lots of affection, and I think that's absolutely critical. That I think it's the best way to guard and protect your daughter's virginity.
Yeah, every I don't know what the right way of saying this is, as usual, but whether they be a stripper or a prostitute or just the village, look at me girl, right? The common denominator is there's some kind of screwed up relationship with dad. Either dad was there but wasn't there, or he totally wasn't there, or he was some kind of abusive jerk. Every girl with that kind of baggage and background has that same issue with the dad thing.
Another thing I would say is I would ask you guys as dads, again, I don't have any daughters, but you guys have to tell your girls about guys like I was before I got saved. I've got to confess, I was one of the worst. I had that guy attitude. It was like the male conquest thing. It's like they were not objects of affection. They were objects of lust. And it was like, I'm gonna conquer the next mountain, conquer the next mountain, and I'm gonna say whatever I have to and do what I ever have to make that happen.
Okay, now you got the boys. We got some girls here going on. Do you think it's a good deal for the dad to scare the living snot out of the boy who comes in to date the girl?
Absolutely.
Because I've already said this. I will be in prison. I will hurt this kid if he touches my daughter. You know the actor Stephen Baldwin. You guys know Stephen Baldwin?
Yep.
He said to me on the show, he said, I'm nervous about my daughter start dating. I said, I get it, man. I get it. Like, I almost drove over some kids' bikes, some boys' bikes, because they're in our driveway. I just wanted to,
Well, you know what? I say to Colleen, my daughter right now is 4. And she's 4 right now for a reason, and that is because I'm not ready for her to be 14 yet. And when I speak in schools, I kind of tell a story about, after Ashley was born and what have you, about how, for a split second after all the joy and everything of holding her in a MySick head, I went, one day guys are going to have to come to the house and meet me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sitting here right now, if she was 14, I'm glad she's 4 right now, because I don't know what I would do in your boots right now.
What I was talking about before you interrupted me was...
You just go ahead.
Whose show is this? Baldwin goes, what I figured...
Start writing on
Yeah, I figured I'd have been in about 60 movies. What I've done is I've spliced together all the kicks and punches I've ever done in all those movies, put it into a 3-minute trailer. The boy comes over to date my daughter. I take him into the home movie theater, sit down, watch this, have her back by 9. I'm going to do the same thing. You should do that with all your fights.
I'm exactly going to do that. I'm going to take all your advice. I'm going to take the advice of my peers here that have already gone before me with daughters, because let's face it, today, in my opinion, it's not an easy time to raise daughters, and certainly what's going on the TV, on the internet, with cell phones, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, having that solid stability, I mean, it's a privilege being a dad, a great responsibility, doing the best that we can, and obviously, time that you spend at home with your kids. You can be an absent dad or you can be a present dad, and obviously I'm hoping that it pays off down the line just from spending time.
Absolutely, Mark. I mean, the times we live in now, whether you have girls or boys, it's a dangerous time for kids to grow up anyway. I mean, as a father who has sons, and maybe my boys will get married and I'll have granddaughters. I mean, I would say the same thing to them. And what I try to instill in my boys now, after I have assumed the role of spiritual leader in my family, the God-ordained role of being first and foremost the priest in my house, is to set an example for my boys by how I treat their mother.
That's right.
That's the greatest example I can give them of how to treat a woman is how I treat their mother.
But none of us want the guys to come near our girls, right? We don't want that. But if we're so paranoid and neurotic about it, then the girls are going to be doing stuff behind our back. So how do we get that? How do we get that mix?
Yeah, it is. There's a fine line. And
well,
Steve,
again, it's a trust. About. It's a trust issue. I mean, if you build a trust issue with your daughter, in my case, our 3 daughters, then they don't want to violate my trust by doing something behind my back, because we've developed a close bond as they've grown up. And just a quick little story. I remember I took my 7-year-old son into the department store to buy a negligee for my wife, and I was a little nervous going in there, so I used him for a decoy. and figured we were lost and looking for the toy section.
Right.
So anyhow, we go in there and I buy her 2 negligees, bring them home, give them to my daughters to wrap. Jackie's the only one who doesn't know what she's getting. She opens them up on Christmas morning, and here she's got 2 negligees. So she goes, wow. And then the first thing she did after all the gifts were open, she goes into the bedroom. She takes our 3 daughters into the bedroom. They were teens and preteen. And she said, she tried them on and she modeled for them. And then she said, you need to understand the power we as women and females have over men sexually. And it was a teachable moment, and she taught our girls that you've got to watch how you dress, you've got to watch how you carry yourself, because you have incredible power, and that power can be used for good in a young man's life, or it can be used
evil.
Me.
Where were you when this conversation was going on?
I was out there with my son.
Yeah.
But
explaining how powerless we are.
Yeah. You're talking about communication and how we relate as guys, as men, as fathers. It's so important that we do communicate, and I'm taking what I've learned and what I know and what I learn as I go, and I try to apply that with Ashley. The biggest thing I think I want that I want to tell her right now, she knows that that Daddy loves her, and that she can trust me, and that whatever I'm saying or doing is for her own good at 4 years old. And as we go on, those lines of communication and being able to relate is so important.
Yeah,
as
but,
guys.
but you got the young ones now, right? When they get to that psychotic age of like between 10 and 20, you know,
They start going through puberty, and that's
it's
the
weird,
changes
man.
They end up going through, right?
Like, how old you got? A 13-year-old?
13-year-old.
And
now.
are you relating? Are you and her just jiving and on the same planet?
There's challenges. There's challenges
It's
there,
tough.
but again,
do you
you
feel
got
rejected though?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
and
certainly
that's
do
But
feel
you know,
rejected.
That's what I'm not looking forward to that.
No.
I don't know if it's more so with girls because I don't have any daughters, but I mean, isn't that's a teenager? I mean, aren't they all like that? I mean, it's kind of like when they become teenagers, all of a sudden mom and dad are stupid. We don't know anything anymore.
Yeah.
We're out of touch. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
And all the time when we give them boundaries and we give them limits, you know, they look at it as like, well, you're holding me back. You're trying to keep me from having fun. What they don't realize is we're setting the boundaries because it's like, I've been there. I've done that. I'm just trying to protect you.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? We make mistakes doing that too.
You know, we have to take our first time out today on Good News Sports, talking about dads and their daughters. Back right after this. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Good News Sports. I'm your host, Glenn Allan, along with Drew Marshall, Steve Masterson, Mark Osborne, and Ted DiBiase. Today on the program, guys talking about dads and their daughters. Just before we went to break, we were talking about a few different things. We talked about peer pressure. We've touched on communication. One of the things, especially in communication, as a dad, it's really important for us to watch our words, especially as the girls get into that as you were saying, that teeny bopper, and as their bodies are developing. It's awkward. It's awkward, and sometimes when you make that comment about a developing body, or if it's just off the cuff, and some guys would just, I'm only kidding, and so what? Guys don't realize, especially dad, for the girls, and how like they look at dad, and our words have so much power. We all have power, but the words, we have power for our daughters, and we really have to be careful.
One of the dumbest things I've ever done. My daughter was in the bathroom crying. Right? I don't get this. I go, what's wrong with the kid? Talking to the mother there. What's wrong with the kid? And the shirt doesn't fit, right? She thinks she looks fat in this shirt. And I'm going, suck it up, princess. Like, let's move on, right? The guy mentality, right? She's crying more and more. She's chucking a big suck attack. Brutal move. I took the picture of our sponsor child from Africa, shoved it under the door, and said, this kid's got something to complain about. You need to knock it off. Man, that did not go over well.
You think?
My wife was going to kill me if my daughter didn't first.
So
That brings out a question that I had. I mean, as a parent, you know, especially I guess with dads with daughters, because I don't have any daughters again. But we make mistakes. We make mistakes in parenting, and don't you think that when you make a mistake like that, when you can go to your child and take the mask off and say, you know what,
own it.
Made a mistake.
I made a mistake, and you show that vulnerability, they're going to trust you more, and they're going to be more apt to come to you.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than admitting that you're wrong, or
it's
taking them aside and say, you know what, man, I blew it. I blew it big time, and will you forgive me? Believe it or not, it does work, and they soften up. The guard does come down a little bit, but there's no question.
But we don't relate to their suck attacks, do we? This is what I'm saying. Like, you got a young girl and you got girls.
I don't know.
Did you get their suck attacks?
Maybe I do, because I played hockey. You played football.
Yeah, but you're not European.
No.
You did play for the.
I got a question for all you guys. What are you guys going to do when your daughter brings home
one
a
of your
professional
sons?
wrestler like me? I want to tell you what, I did not get over with my mother and father-in-law to begin with. I mean, it's like, number one, I took their daughter out of college. You know, she left home. She moved in with me. We did not start off right. We eventually both got saved and served God with our lives today. But I told my wife this even then. I said, if I had a daughter who came home and said, you know what, Mom, I'm quitting school. I'm moving in with this guy, and he's a professional wrestler. He's divorced and got a kid. I'd lock her in her room till she got over it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would
Thanks
say.
Thanks for freaking me out. I appreciate it.
That's what we got to look forward to.
You got to warn them about things like that.
But part of what you do, Steve, and I really want you to get into this, because it's important for us to date our daughters, and by that, spending that time with them, going out and having that one-on-one time. And after taping this series, because there's so much prep before it and actually taping it, there's time that I have put aside for Ashley and I to go out to a hockey game. We're going to go out for this and that, and my other kids as well. But it's important for that father-daughter time.
We got to understand, our daughter's currency of love is TIME. That's their currency for love. And I used to take our daughters out on separate dates.
Time.
I was just working that one out. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. And I would take them out on dates, and then I would ask them the tough question maybe once every month or two. I said, is there anything I'm doing as a dad or not doing that you would like from me? And it was never buy me this or get me this or do this. It was always, Dad, spend more time with me. It was always, that was the issue.
Did you do the dating thing with your daughters? Like, did you go out to...
I took them out. I would open the door. I says, listen, this is how I treat your mother. I'm old-fashioned. I practice chivalry. So I'd open the door for them, and I'd seat them, and I let them set the agenda for the date, and we went out and had fun together. And yeah, I did this with all three of our daughters.
Did it reach an age, though, where they were a little weirded out by that? Where they were a little creeped out, like, Dad, thanks for the dating thing. That was kind of cool when I was younger, but back off now. They get to that point?
No, well, our three daughters didn't. I mean, they just loved the attention. They loved having Dad all to themselves.
Yeah, we don't get to go out very often in my family. So when you take your daughter, this is fantastic. Hopefully that it does continue. And again, you want to bring them in an environment and give them that security, knowing that, hey, I just want to spend time with you. Sometimes it's not purposely that I want to get into your head or find out what's going on, but just to spend
snoop
time.
in your life. They
snoop
feel
in your
that,
life,
so
and
yeah,
they think,
yeah.
well, you've got a hidden agenda behind this. You want to know what's going on in my personal life, other than I just want to spend time with you.
Well,
Yeah. My three daughters are all married, and I still spend time with them. I mean, it's
How
important.
does the husbands feel about you sticking their nose in the business all that time?
Oh, they like it because their daughter comes home a better wife because
She's hanging out with you?
yeah.
Man, you got to hang out with my family a little more.
Guys, I mean, again, I don't have daughters, but I can say the same thing as a father of three boys. And I traveled, in wrestling. I was gone so much of the time, and I try to tell guys this all the time. It's not necessarily the quantity of time, but it's the quality of time. I have always made it a point when I would come home, I would take like my boys, not on a date, but I would take them out separately. I would take them out like, let's go out and let's get one-on-one and let's have lunch together. Let's go to a ball game together. My boys will tell you right now that when I would take them out on the road with me, like I'd take them one at a time and do a road trip where they'd go on the road with me for a week and stay in the hotels and all that stuff and be in the dressing rooms. And those, as they're older, they look back at that and they said, Dad, those were the best times we had.
Good memories.
Good memories.
Creating memories,
Right.
yeah. I tried this dating thing with my daughter, because I was... Look, the reality is, if it gets screwy at home, most men pour more time into work because they can control the work environment.
That's
So,
right.
right, and we got all frustrated at home. We don't understand the female mentality and all that stuff. So we're like, run, like we do usually in relationship stuff.
Leave it to mom. Right?
Yeah, that's right. But I finally said, okay, I know I'm ripping my daughter off at time. I got to invest this. Let's try one of these date things. All these big, guys that write books and good God guys are talking about take your kids out for a date. So where do you want to go? When we head out, so you get dressed up, put the makeup on, and I'm going to put my suit on.
But is this a new thing?
What?
Or is it something that you've done since they've been small?
No, I tried this smaller. That's what I'm saying. When I tried this, and I said, where do you want to go? She said, McDonald's. So I brought a nice white tablecloth, 2 wine glasses, a candle. We went to McDonald's, and she was freaked out and embarrassed. It backfired. She didn't want to go to McDonald's for
My
like 6
boys
months.
always wanted to go to Toys R Us. I want that. I want that.
Right.
No, but something like that, I mean, when I think of taking Ashley, I mean, again, I go back to a 4-year-old. She loves going to the local American Hockey League team here because she loves going to see the mascot. But she knows that she'll talk for months later that she saw a Bruiser, that Daddy and her went in the van. They saw a Bruiser. She had licorice, and she had a treat. And we saw that she knows some of the players now, because of my work with them. And that to her, she still tells those stories. You probably did weird her out by how many guys have wine glasses and white tablecloths at McDonald's.
I read it in one of these God books, man. I thought it was a good suck-up move.
Guys, what I'm hearing is, you're investing in their lives.
Yeah.
You're investing in their lives, and you're making those memories. Another thing I've done with my boys is like, there have been times when, because of my job, and being on the road, there'd be a big game or something, and I just couldn't be there. I mean, that's one of the things that I always try to do is if there was any way possible for me to be at the game, to be at that event, I was there. But if I wasn't there, the morning of that game, they got a phone call. That day before the game, they got another phone call. They knew even when I wasn't there that I might be 3,000 miles away, but I'm thinking about them, and they never forget that, and they tell me about it.
Yeah, and there's no question about that it's going to pay dividends down the road for us that have young daughters, is that spending quality time and just investing in that. It may not look very good on the onset, as you're experiencing right now, but you got to believe down the road, and you look at the way our parents, raised us and the lack of time perhaps they spent with us, but you got to figure down the road it's got to be something.
We have about 90 seconds, and I really want to get this in because there's guys, for whatever reason, they're afraid to spend that time, or they don't just choose not to spend that time. It's important for us to show that affection to our daughters, and they get to that awkward stage, 12, 13, 14, and how do you show that affection without weirding them out or invading on their privacy?
Well, yeah, we freak out, I think, as guys too, because all of a sudden our little princess has got breasts. Like, whoa, and they're wearing the low pants and the high tops, and they got the everything, they're wearing their younger sister's tops, like they're showing off their breasts. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know whether to hug you or side hug, or am I going to freak you out? Is someone in public going to think I'm a perv?
One of the things, I think as they go through those stages in the public realm, they may feel a little bit awkward, but certainly at home. I mean, you're at home and you want to show affection, and the hugs and the kisses on the cheek, and laying down beside them in bed is
Steve,
a big thing.
you got 30 seconds.
Every girl wants to know that Dad thinks she's lovely, and so you need to compliment her. You need to tell her that she's lovely without accentuating the parts of her that are developing. And she wants to know that she's the apple of your eye, so you've got to pay attention to her hair and to her how she looks, and you tell her she's lovely over and over and over again.
Won't you get vain though and stuck up?
No,
not if you do it. Not if you do it in that type of a way. Guys, it's it's an important subject. I'm glad we were able to cover it. We have to take another time out. Back with more Good News Sports right after this. Welcome back to the program. Guys, as dads, we need to spend quality time with our daughters. Let her know she's beautiful and valuable. Be the man that she'll compare her future husband to, and she won't be so quick to fall for the first guy who gives her attention.